All right, everybody, welcome back to episode 2 of the Player B podcast here. Again, my name is Marcus Mercer, and we're joined by Rob. Rob, how are we doing?
Well, sir, how about yourself?
Doing all right.
Awesome.
Right.
Awesome.
We're sitting here in a bunch of snow in Columbus, so I'm not doing all right with that. But
No, not the slightest. Absolutely not.
we got a lot of golf to talk about, though, so that's good.
That helps. That'll help melt the snow.
At least in my mind, anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Mind. So I mean, I think we'll just get right into it. We'll jump right into it. I mean, everybody is talking about Patrick Reed. I think that's the number one story in golf right now. But
he won last week, right?
I mean, I don't know. Yes, he did. But the talk of the town was his little embedded ball situation there. So
that was pretty interesting. He seemingly can't get out of his own way when he's in contention. I feel like that's the only time you see it.
Right.
But I feel like is when he's in contention. That might have something to do with the cameras too. Obviously, you're in the lead, more cameras are on you. But man, the guy can't get out of his own way.
Yeah, I mean, so we've talked a little bit about it, texting back and forth, but as someone who's played a little bit of competitive golf before, like I want to get your take on it because I have my thoughts, but I want to hear what you're thinking first here.
Yeah. So there's a couple ways to look at it, and I try to not just immediately paint Patrick Reed as the bad guy. I'm like, all right, so he hits the blind shot, doesn't see it down. Like blind shot, so he doesn't see it bounce. It's wet. They're playing lift, clean, and place everywhere, or in the fairway rather. And so you don't see it down. You turn to your player partners. Did you guys see it? They say no. You go up to the volunteer. Did you see it bounce? They say no. I mean, at that point,
that poor volunteer got thrown right under the bus.
She was just snoozing. All of a sudden, it's like, no, I didn't see it. I didn't see it actually. But yeah, at that point, you don't see it. So in that sense, he thought, okay, he was told he didn't see it bounce. Everybody was kind of in agreement that nobody saw it bounce. So if you look at it from somebody not named Patrick Reed, you're going to go, all right, well, it didn't bounce. It's got to be plugged. Like it's wet out here. And so again, that's okay. He did that. That's fine. He asked everything. Then he goes, hey, I'm going to check to see if it's plugged or embedded. Also completely fine. Handle that exactly how you would handle it in a tournament. Where it gets dicey is when he marks it with the tee to hold the position and starts feeling around. That too is fine. But when he picks it up and then just like holds onto the ball for a little bit, like bare hands it, like palms it, and then puts it like 5 feet over and then calls a rules official over, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Because even the rules official, when he came over, he's like, is that your ball? And he's like, no, that's not my ball. My ball's over here. And he points back to the tee where there's no ball anymore. So the rules official was kind of stuck in a sense of like, okay, I guess I'll just feel around this 4 to 5 inch rough and see if I can feel a dimple. And he's poking at it before the ball was there. I mean, who's to say he's not putting his fingers down in there and making it? So he did almost everything correct in that sense, minus picking up the ball. Like I would never in a tournament touch the ball. If I had a rules official that's 30 seconds away in a golf cart, I would just leave that thing as is, mark it, say, hey, I think it's embedded. Here's where it is. Here's how I found it. What are your thoughts? Play it, and then just let it go in the rules official's hands. So he handled it right to an extent, and then he also kind of boogered it up pretty badly. And again, it's Patrick Reed. That certainly does not help.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed it. And I'm, listening to everybody talk about it for the past couple of days, I guess I learned a few things. I'm not sure I fully understood that rule as somebody, didn't play, competitive golf and just watches a lot of golf and things like that. Cause they don't play lift, clean, and place a whole lot and things like that. So I learned a few things, but I thought my first reaction is, why is he picking up that ball? And why wouldn't he call a rules official over first before he touches the ball?
Right.
Where the problem, I guess, where the confusion came in is when Rory did it, on 18, the same exact day, pretty much the same situation, really. And he's kind of one of those guys that has a reputation of following the rules and, the spirit of the rules and things like that. So to your point, I mean, it's Patrick Reed. He doesn't do himself any favors, but I'm not sure I fully understood that rule. And now it sounds like my first reaction was, what the hell is this guy doing? What a scumbag. Right. To now it's like, well, he kind of did it right, but still Patrick Reed, so it just looks shady and bad.
Yeah, the only thing he did wrong, or not wrong, but the only thing that was questionable is that he picked it up before. It's fine to say, I'm going to check to see if it's embedded because it's a close call. That's fine. But to pick it up, like to mark it, then pick it up, and then say, I want to get a rules official over here, it just didn't make any sense. It's like you're hiding some of the evidence, like you've removed some of the evidence that can help or hurt you by moving that ball.
Right.
And he just left it and said, hey, it's like, hey, here's the scene of the crime. What do you think? He didn't, and again, he didn't really do himself any favors. But again, with the information he was like, we had the luxury of seeing it on TV, bounce a foot and a half in the air and then go. So everyone's like,
right.
There's no way. It's like, well, yeah, we see it, but he's 100, however far back he was in the fairway to a blind green. He didn't see it bounce a foot and a half, or he probably would have just like, man, this is a crummy lie, or whatever the case may have been. But
right. Yeah. That's where, we have the added benefit of seeing it on TV. He, there's no way he probably saw that bounce and to put that on the poor volunteer. I mean, that poor lady, she's scarred for life. She's never coming back. I mean,
not the slightest.
She's getting blamed for Patrick Reed's cheating scandal. And
she's going to get that email like, would you like to volunteer again? And she couldn't just drop that email and delete it quick enough. Like, she's like,
right.
Nope. Did you see what I did last year? Like, absolutely not. I don't want to be a volunteer.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know. There's so many different ways to go with it. It's like, on one hand, at first I was like, get this guy off the tour. And then it's like, he kind of followed the rules and did it right. And then you start seeing all the coverage and it's like Brandel Chambly's out here, bashing him. And Xander Schauffele's like, there's been some talk amongst the boys and they're not super happy with it.
Protects them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
think even on the next hole, he pulled his approach shot and it plugged in the bunker. And even Faldo is like, that's kind of the golfing gods getting even. And I'm like, you can't say that.
Faldo wasn't too happy with him. That's for sure.
No, he was not. And then at that point, it was just like anytime he took a drop or anything, that camera is like that. Like you could see the ball just like dimple. If there's a speck of mud on it, it was everything. And to the point where the next day, Victor Hovland was like, took a drop and that camera is like right on there. So those guys are just like, you're not going to get away with anything.
Yeah, poor Victor Hovland tried to take that drop, and the guy's like, "Try it again, try it again." So it was just a tough situation, and like you said, Patrick Reed doesn't do himself any favors, and I'll tell you who especially doesn't do himself any favors is probably his burner account that that it seems like Justine may be running, at least according to the rumor mill. So I don't know if you saw that or have any. Mess. Yeah. Oops. But that whole storyline between him and his wife and everybody, it's just crazy. But I was listening to a podcast today, and they were talking about how, they really don't like Patrick Reed, but he's good for the game because he had everybody talking about golf this weekend.
Absolutely.
People that don't watch golf were talking about it. So
right. Because then they're like, well, wait, what did he do? And then he's talking, well, do you understand the rule? Like, it's a topic that, I've listened to some podcasts on it too. And this one topic is covering an hour and a half.
Right.
And it's like, everyone's got an opinion. Then it kind of spirals into their own story of like, oh, I thought you could do this. I thought you could do that, whatever. But the burner account was just absolutely priceless with them tweeting out the exact same thing.
Oh, you can't make that mistake.
Yeah. Gotta make sure you see which account you're signed in on before you hit send. So
that's tough. And I guess to put it in terms that made sense in my brain with this whole thing, I was trying to think if I was like, no, not even close to the same, but if somebody did that on Thursday night when we're playing in league and we're trying to get our 2 points or 3 points, I don't know. You may have to call him on it, but
yeah,
interesting weekend.
It depends on what hole it is, how many beers we've had. If it's eighth hole, we're like, you know what, it is embedded. Just drop it one where you think it is. So, but
how many summer shandies you got in? Yes,
so. Exactly. That's the key. So,
but it was an interesting weekend watching golf. At least it was a great way to kick it off, and I was watching. Even though it was, what was it, hailing or sleeting or whatever in San Diego at the time, I was like, man, it doesn't look half bad out there. So.
Yeah, I was like, I'd take it as it's like single-digit wind chills and sleeting here. Yeah. Did you hear, I guess this is today, so Thursday, the volunteer on Rory, his ball was stepped on. Did you hear that?
Really? No.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So the same thing we kind of alluded to, that Rory had the same thing happen the same day on 18, so further down on the golf course. He hit a shot that kind of fluttered up in the air and came down, and again, same thing. Nobody saw it bounce, but to the point where they couldn't find it. And so you get 3 minutes to look for a golf ball before it's lost. Well, they find it like 2 minutes into the search, and it is embedded. And so they're like, okay, it's embedded. And so he takes necessary relief, doesn't call a rules official over because it's so embedded, proceeds as normal. I guess a volunteer stepped on it while they were looking for it.
Oh, no.
And felt so bad that he stepped on it that he just didn't say anything. Then, since it got out that Rory, being he, was like kind of drawn into this Patrick Reed saga, the volunteer that was like losing sleep and had a guilty conscience, so contacted the tournament director. Tournament director then emailed the PGA Tour, who notified Rory on like Monday that like, hey, a volunteer stepped on your ball on Saturday. And so that's why it was so plugged. And so he, like, the difference between how you would proceed of an embedded ball and if somebody stepped on it on the tour is literally just like a drop versus a place. So if the volunteer stepped on it, technically Rory would be allowed to place the ball nearest point where it stepped on. Where it was embedded, he had to drop it. So, but the volunteer just felt so bad that he stepped on the ball that he didn't say anything at the time.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. That's the first time hearing that. That's unbelievable. Yeah. But that I don't want to say that's common, but that happens occasionally out there with volunteers searching for balls and things like that. So, wow, that's pretty.
So I was kind of surprised the volunteer was hesitant to say anything because it's like it's deep rough. It's not like you Will walked over and like river danced on Rory's golf ball. Like you just looking for it and you stepped on it.
That's a little bit different than one of our buddies driving over our ball in the fairway with a golf cart.
Yeah.
Little bit different.
Yeah, slightly different. So
So anyway, big weekend. It was, I don't like seeing Patrick Reed win, but it is what it is. He played well, so good for him. Good for him.
Yeah.
Now we're on to the Waste Management Open, but that'll be a whole nother story. I've actually been to the Waste Management Open.
Have you?
Oh yeah, it's a shit show.
I've heard, and I've seen where they just like basically open up the gates at like 5 a.m. and you just sprint to the 16th.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, some of those guys book it to get like front row, whatever the seating is, but I thought you'd have to have tickets there, but it's like, nope, it's a free for all. Like it's as soon as the gates open, you go to 16 if you want, and that's your seat for the day. If you so choose to stay. So
I when I lived in Tucson, I went up there, bought tickets or whatever, and it was the year the Super Bowl was also in Phoenix. So the Waste Management always finishes on Super Bowl Sunday. So I mean, there was so much going on in Phoenix that weekend. It was ridiculous. It was the year Patriots won it, which just happened every year in the 2000s. So, but yeah, it was. I mean, it is exactly what you think it is. It's just a complete. I mean, it's like they moved a frat party at ASU out to the golf course, and
which is crazy to think because I've been to. The Bridgestone, the Memorial, obviously being in Central Ohio. And those can get out of hand. Like you see people that are overserved at those, and then to have an event that is so like just catered around. No, this is just a party. Like it's a party, and we have a little bit of golf on the side. Like just enjoy yourselves and mind the golfers that are around the area. So.
I mean, that golf is secondary to the party on 16 at the Waste Management, right. But it's a fun one. And as we're sitting here recording this, I'm on the screen that I have the TV on. They had Bubba doing his TikTok dance, which. I don't even want to cover that, but that happened. I guess we could just leave it at that. Yeah. Bubba doing a TikTok dance in the bunker on 16.
Bubba, man of the people. He's quite the guy.
Yes, he is. But so I guess wrapping up a little bit of talk there. There's been so much news going on with golf between Patrick Reed and now this USGA R A, I guess combined. I don't know if you want to call it a research project or really what it is, but they're taking some steps to combat the distance boom, I guess is what they're saying, at least according to NBC Golf here. So
right.
I don't know if you have some certain thoughts on that. I certainly do, but I would love to hear what your
I can kind of start it and try not to go down too far a rabbit hole, but so the USGA, like you said, and the R&A have 3 proposals that they want to do. They don't want to necessarily do them all, I believe. And I read a little bit on it, not a ton. But they have 3 different proposals they want to do to try to roll back distance. They want to basically put a regulation on the club length. So take it from 48-inch max to 46-inch max. Proposal 2 was to update how they test new golf balls. Which I read a little bit of that and I'm like, all right, I don't know what half of this stuff means, right. But in short version, there's optimal ball flights and launch conditions and spin rates. So basically what they would do is they would take a golf ball. So say Callaway is launching out a new golf ball. The USGA and R A would test it at anywhere from 7.5 to 15.5 degrees at launch angle, and 2,200 to 3,000 revs per minute. And if it carries over 317 yards, it's deemed like a non-conforming golf ball. So right. they thought about maybe rolling back the golf ball. The other one was a proposal to change the test, like the tolerance level on the clubs. I read halfway through that paragraph and was like, nope, I'm not good. But to kind of get on it, I'm like, it just doesn't make sense because Rory had a good comment today. It's like they're just looking at such a small percentage of golfers that this takes, the distance isn't as a quote unquote issue, that you're going to kill the game, or you're at least going to, slow the growth of it down. The average golfer, if you look at it, I want to say the average golfer statistically can't break 100. The average drive of a male is 215, 220 yards. And now they're like, whoa, we gotta roll everything back. And then a couple of years ago, actually it was probably 10 years ago, they had the whole Tee It Forward program, which was encouraging you to, golf's about fun. Go up, have some wedges into these greens, have fun, score well. Yep. And then now it's well, hang on, now now we don't want you to hit it as far. Because I don't know if it's the golf court, they're worried about, the St. Andrews, the older courses that just can't physically match up to some of these distances that these guys are doing. But like Rory said, I looked at it as an NBA game. NBA players still play on 10-foot rims. They're super athletic. It's still a 10-foot rim. They don't raise it up to 15 feet just because they're really good at their craft. If you want to change it for the tour, okay. I mean, you're probably going to lose some eyeballs, because the reason look at Bryson. People do things because they see what he's doing to the golf ball. You start to roll that back, I don't think anyone's going to want to watch Bryson hit a 280-yard draw swinging out of his shoes. No one really cares about that. So I just think it's one of those things where it's going to hurt the game if they really do that, and hopefully there's enough backlash where they kind of pull the plug on this and say we want to we want to grow the game. We want to keep eyeballs on the weekends and get TV ratings up, and they kind of rethink that. But that's my rant on the distance control. For a guy who doesn't hit it far, I'm like, no, don't penalize me here. I need all the help I can get.
I mean, without getting too much into the science of the whole thing, it's like my whole thing is, I guess bifurcation is the term I keep reading and seeing. Why is golf any different than any other sport? Baseball, college guys use aluminum bats versus wood bats in the pros. You mentioned basketball, the 3-point lines are different. Football, you have different sets of goalposts for different. I mean, every sport has different standards and specifications for amateurs versus the pros. The guys on tour are the 0.001% of the people playing golf.
Right.
Why I just don't understand why they would make broad sweeping changes, like Rory said, for the tiny amount of people that are playing at such a high level.
Yeah.
Compared to you, me, Joe Blow down the street playing golf, whoever it is, it makes no sense. The whole thing you mentioned with having fun and playing with wedges in your hands and being able to hit shots into greens that, stick and things like that. That's fun. That's why people like us go out and play golf, is we want to be able to shoot low scores. We want to be able to, make shots and things like that and have fun on the course. If you're making it hard for the 99.9%, I should say this, the game is hard enough for people like us.
Exactly.
Why would we need to make it harder for the 99.9% of people that are playing the game? It doesn't seem to make sense for me. To me, I should say. So if they want to make adjustments and things like that on tour, that makes sense to me. Making broad sweeping changes for me, you, everybody else doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
They were talking about, I saw debates online and Instagram and quotes and all this stuff. It's like, who was it? I think it was Webb Simpson. I think I saw a graphic or a quote that he said something to the effect of like, we don't need to change the equipment. We need to change the golf courses. Well, that's probably feasible in the way they set up a course on tour with, growing out the rough and bringing in the fairways and things like that. But for your standard country club or your standard muni course that we're going to go play, there's only so much land. There's only so many resources.
Exactly.
It's just not possible. So I don't know. It's
exactly. Yeah. Because you have some courses that are landlocked that they can't buy the parcel of land over on the other side of the street and extend 12 T back 50 yards. Like they just can't do that. That just, I see where Webb Simpson's making sense, where it's like, we'll change the course, but it's like, you can only make the courses so long. Like if technology just keeps growing and growing. So that's kind of where I'm like, well, you got to have a different set of rules. If you want to regulate it, you got to have a different set of rules, because you can't penalize the guy who has a 6 hybrid in his bag and that he's hitting from $130 because he can't get the ball airborne like that. He's going to stop playing. All there is to it. He's not playing anymore. And you just lost him. He's not going to teach it to his kid and so on and so forth. It's just over. Like you're killing the game by trying to tailor these athletes in. It's like, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But
I was texting with some buddies about this too. It's like, those guys play a different game than we do. They need to be held to different standards and things. Like it's not. Yeah, we're playing golf, but it's not the same game.
It's not even remotely close.
So I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. But that also hit this week, so it's been a big news week in the world of golf, I guess.
Yeah,
so. Like
you said, they play a different game. When you go to the tour events and listen to the way that ball sounds, like that doesn't sound like that when I hit it. Like they don't miss shots.
The sound and the ball flight are just unbelievable with what those guys are doing. So as I'm sitting here watching Golf Channel, and they're showing shots from Waste Management today. So anyway, that's all good stuff. We'll try and stay up on the news here as we go along, because there's, obviously the PGA Tour season's kicking off, and
Mm-hmm.
once we get rid of the snow, we'll be playing ourselves. But we figured with episode 2 today, we would kind of maybe go through a little what's in the bag for each of us. So
Yeah.
it's I know you've made some changes this year, and I've made some changes so far, and on brand, on topic. I don't want to throw out any spoilers, but I know one of the proposed rule changes you just mentioned may affect one of your purchases this year. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to start there, but go ahead.
That's why I was heated. I bought into the Bryson thing, and I as Mark, as you can attend, I don't hit the ball like super crazy left or right. So I thought, if I extend the driver shaft a little bit, a couple inches, get me some extra length, I can probably tailor in the dispersion and figure it out. So I'm testing out a 48-inch driver shaft to see what that's going to work and look like. But currently over the winter, I'm just pounding balls into a simulator. So I haven't really seen any. I mean, the simulator is accurate, but I just am more of I got to see it outside.
Yep.
So once we get some warmer weather, I'll go outside. And the beauty of adjustability with drivers is I can just crank the wrench, pop the old one back in, and see what they look like in the air and that type of thing. But yeah, I'm currently testing the 48-inch driver. So if the USGA and R A pull the plug on it, I got one for sale if anybody wants an illegal driver shaft. So yeah.
So I guess my question is, I've always had a standard 46-inch driver shaft. When you put that in and you've swung it, is it a noticeable difference? Did you have to make some adjustments, or were you like, oh man, this thing is long?
Yeah, it definitely does feel, even though it's only a 2-inch increase in the shaft, it's noticeably different. It feels like you're going to miss the golf ball. My first swing came in a simulator, and I'm like, there's a guy next to me that might be in the go zone where if I miss this thing, it could hit him in the back of the legs. But yeah, it just takes, you kind of slow the swing speed down and just try to get the feel of it. But it's just like any other club. I mean, you're going to get your timing right with that, but it takes some getting used to. What I am looking forward to is like the 1 club length drop, like where I can just throw that one, or the 2 club length, the 48-inch twice to get like back out into the fairway. But yeah, it takes some getting used to. I've only had it. I think I've only had like a couple range sessions with it, and getting some good numbers with it, but nothing crazy. So like I said, I want to see outside ball flight, where it lands, how it finishes, how it rolls. Is it super spinny? That type, all the geeky nerdy stuff. I want to see that before I put it in the bag for the big Thursday night men's league.
Yeah. See, and I am. Well, I'm in a little bit of the same boat. I went with a new driver this year. I bought a new driver. Went with the Callaway Maverick Sub-Zero, but I'm in the same boat in that I'm working out some new equipment, but I haven't been in a simulator, but I've been to the outdoor range. So I haven't seen any numbers on, distance and things like that, but kind of going off feel and seeing the ball fly a little bit. So it's
funny. We're both kind of jealous of the other. You're like, man, I'd like to go I'd like to see that ball flight. Like,
yeah, I know. It's like we're texting each other back and forth, and I'm like, well, it feels great. It looks, the ball flight's great, but I can't tell the numbers and distance and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I'm like, the numbers are okay. I just can't see. I just want to see the ball flight. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it's I like the new driver. I had a very outdated driver, so it's nice to upgrade and get some new technology and things like that. And of course, the week after I buy a Maverick, they come out with the new what are they? The new Rogues or whatever this year. So.
Yeah, the Epic.
Epics, Epic.
Yeah, they're back to they go full circle with club manufacturers. They usually just go, you can only imagine how those meetings go. They're like, Bill, what do you think? I mean, Epic was a few years ago. Let's bring it back out. Let's
bring it back. Yep.
Flash or whatever it may be. But yeah, they run out of names eventually, so they just got to recycle them.
Yeah. So it'll be good to, hopefully we'll both be adding some distance, and we'll have a lot of wedges in the greens like we just talked about.
Yeah,
so.
that's the goal.
So
yeah.
What are you playing? Are you playing a 3-wood? Are you playing hybrids? What are you working with as far as?
So kind of through the bag. The driver is a Titleist TS4. There's a new brand out. The new Titleist is out. I'm not really. I mean, mine's last year's version or previous model's version, so I'm not going to really tinker with the driver. The 3-wood is an oldie but a goodie. Marcus, you played with me enough, so you can kind of attest that it's a goodie. But the putter's where it kind of gets cold from there. It's a King Cobra Hyper Steel, which I played this 3-wood in high school, which was many, many years ago. I'm 35 years old, and I played that in high school.
Love it.
And the reason it's such an old club is, like, nowadays the tech is so good that 3-woods go so long.
Yeah.
But you get to a point where you hit 3-wood, and here's kind of my theory on it, and it's odd, but you hit a 3-wood to be short of something. So right. I know that 3-wood's not going to have that one outlier that just is a missile. You got a creek that's whatever distance. I know that, okay, this is a distance, that's an old 3-wood. I know that it's not going to get there. Some of the new 3-woods, if you catch it right and everything lines up, that thing's going to spring, and you're going to hit it just as far as your driver. So finding a good 3-wood, I'm good with. So that one's kind of never really left the bag. I got a Titleist 2 hybrid. It's a TS2. Again, kind of last year's previous model. That kind of fluctuates. I'm trying to tinker whether or not I want to keep that one in the bag or not. But yeah, it's a specialty club. I don't use it a ton. My 3 and 4 irons are Ping crossovers. They're kind of like a chunkier, if we can see that. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to ever
yeah.
I don't know if we're ever going to launch it on YouTube.
We'll see if we can get this on YouTube for everybody to see.
If we do, it's kind of a chunkier club. It's like a hybrid, but not a hybrid. Just to give me a little bit of help, because those long irons are tough to hit. So that kind of helps launch the ball in the air. I really like those. My irons, I'm rolling with Titleists, 718s. So a couple, I think, again, previous model. I split my set, so they always have like the AP1s, AP2s, CBs, MBs. So I was lucky enough to get these from Titleist before I got out of the golf business. I got my 4, 5, and 6 iron are CBs, which is cavity back, so a little bit more forgiving. Lower center of gravity. I got those. And then my 7, 8, 9, and pitching wedge are just the MBs, which stands for muscle backs, blades. So that's what I'm rocking with the irons. They're 2 degrees flat, which, again, we can get down and that's another podcast of specs and club fitting that we can go down.
Right.
And then wedges, I got the SM7 Vokies, 52, 56, 60. A bunch of different, low bounce, a couple different grinds on there that are just super geeky and nerdy. But yeah, I mean, I guess now that I look at it, it's pretty Titleist through the bag.
Yeah.
Minus a couple, Cobra and Ping, but most of it's just Titleist. It's something I've gotten used to and I like. But yeah, that's what. And then the putter is a putter that I've gotten. My wife got me the best birthday gift ever a couple of years ago. And I got a Scotty Cameron that I'd won in an outing at Springfield Country Club. I got longest putt made, and usually you go to these outings and it's like, oh, you get a $50 gift card or whatever. I got a Scotty Cameron select squareback. And
nice.
So I had no money in it. And I would always go to Scotty Cameron custom shop on my computer and make my own, like, oh man, if I could ever customize my Scotty Cameron, this is what I want. And I talked Lauren's ear off for like a year on what I would want to do to this thing. And finally on my birthday, she's like, hey, ship it out there. Go ahead and make it up. And so I got to customize my Scotty Cameron. So I got my name stamped on it. I got Houday, because I'm a huge Bengals fan, stamped on it. I got orange and black color fill. So it's that one's not going to leave the bag. I mean, even though I'm not the greatest putter in the world, that putter is not leaving the bag. So yeah, super happy with the bag. There's not much I would really change. I'm just kind of tinkering with, like you said, the driver shaft. But other than that, yeah, the clubs are going to kind of stay put for a while. I'm pretty happy with the setup. So
have you always played Titleist for the most part, or
No. Again, kind of spoiled brat here in the golf business. I was on a staff deal, and I'd never been on staff with Titleist. And before I got in golf, I didn't really gravitate towards Titleist. I was kind of always like a Callaway guy. I just like the forgiveness of the clubs, that type of thing. Not to say Titleist doesn't have forgiving clubs, but just what I had available. But yeah, I was always on staff. When I was down in Cincinnati at my club down there, I was on staff with Cobra. And then I went to Callaway for a year, and then I went on Adams. And then when I came up to Columbus, I was on Ping staff. And then, so yeah, I was just kind of like basically as an assistant golf pro, you are just going to take whatever's free.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's why I look like a NASCAR driver. I would just have like a Callaway hat, a Cobra glove or Cobra wedges, like whatever you guys want to give me for free, I'll take and say that I love. But then, yeah, as I got out of the golf business, I had grown pretty good friends with the Titleist rep, and was able to get those on my way out.
Nice.
And ever since then, I've kind of been a little bit more loyal to them just for kind of taking care of me on the way out. And so if I ever buy clubs, it's kind of, I'm going to help Titleist out on that end. So
there you go. There you go.
Yeah. What about you? What's in Marcus's bag right now? I know you said you got a new driver, but let's go through the whole gamut and see what's going on.
So, Callaway driver, Callaway Maverick Sub-Zero, which I'm liking so far. I can't wait to get it on the course and actually play it. But my little bit of time on the driving range, I love the feel of it. It feels great. So, but to your point about the whole 3-wood situation, is I had kind of an outdated driver, outdated technology where I probably wasn't maximizing distance and things like that. Yeah. So I got a new 3-wood a couple years ago, and to your point, I was carrying that thing 250, 260, same as I did my driver. So if I hit it on the screws, it was going every bit as far as my driver. So there wasn't a gap there. So it was always interesting to figure that shot out if I needed to, on going into a par 5 or something like that. So so I have in my bag now. I currently have a Callaway Rogue 3-wood, which is a few years old now. So it's they've had a couple iterations of new 3-woods and things like that come out. But so I like that. I like the feel of that 3-wood. The 5-wood is where it gets interesting. You've seen the old Billy Baru as some of my buddies call it, because the 5-wood has been in my bag for I think I've had it since I was probably 13. It is a Mcgregor 5-wood that my dad got me in a set. I think it was like my first like adult set of clubs that my dad bought me when I was probably 13 or 14. So, old Billy Baru, I show it to people and they just laugh, but I've always hit that club so well, and I've just never gotten rid of it. So I don't. If I keep hitting it well, I don't know that there's a reason to. But it's always funny when I pull that out and show it to people, and they're like, "Holy shit! Yeah. When did they make that thing?" Yeah. So we're working with a Mcgregor 5-wood. The irons I had 3 through pitching wedge are all Callaway as well. Again, very old. I'm still rocking the X18s, but again, I like them. I haven't necessarily had a need to get new irons, other than there's probably something that'll give me some more distance and things like that. But they're cavity backs X18s, so I feel comfortable with them. But the first couple things I wanted to upgrade were the driver and the putter. But we'll get to the irons here shortly. But I like them. They feel great, and I've always been kind of partial to Callaway just because I've always liked the way they feel. When I've tested some TaylorMades and things like that, and it just personal feel, no real reason other than that. I've always liked Callaway, so it's just kind of stuck. So 3 through wedge with Callaway. my wedges, other than my pitching wedge, are all Cleveland. I like Cleveland wedges. So we've got a sand wedge. Let me rewind. 52-degree gap wedge, 54 sand wedge, and a 60 lob wedge that we're working with. Okay. The 60-degree took quite a while to get used to because I hadn't carried one of those my entire life until just a couple years ago. So that's been quite the adjustment getting used to the 60-degree. But I Cleveland makes great wedges. I love them. So we'll keep those in the bag for a little while. And then the putter, I should say I was using an Odyssey White Hot.
That's right.
White Hot Tour, I should say.
Yeah.
For quite a while, but a little Christmas present from my dad this year. We'll see if I can show this here. The special select Newport 2 came in the
can't miss him with a Scotty
under the Christmas tree this year. So my funny story, I think I told you, but my dad bought a Scotty last year. My dad's one of those guys that loves to blame the equipment, not the operator. So when he starts missing putts, it's he needs a new putter. So he went out and bought himself a Scotty, and he called me and he's like I'm making everything. This is the greatest putter in the world. Yeah. So naturally bought me one for Christmas. So it was a good Christmas. We upgraded the putter, and shortly after I bought myself a new driver. So we got some new equipment, but I've been hitting a lot of putts here in my office, and I like the way it feels. It feels very different than an Odyssey White Hot. So I'm sure it'll take some getting used to once we get out on the course, but putting has never been necessarily a strong suit. So I don't know if a Scotty will help me make more putts, but maybe it'll give me some more confidence. So
when you take that Scotty Cameron head cover off, people are going to go, that Marcus, he can putt.
This guy means business.
This guy doesn't miss many. He's got a Scotty Cameron.
Right. So yeah, that's kind of what's in the bag. I mean, like you, I play a little bit of everything. I'm maybe partial to Callaway, but let's just say I'm not a sponsored athlete.
Right. Yeah. There's certain people are. That's impressive.
And if I were to become a sponsored athlete, I would play anything and everything. So it's fun. So we're made some changes. We're looking forward to getting rid of this snow and getting out there and testing it all out. So
we got the group text going on with the league of who's in this year and everything like that. That means that's around the corner, which is always promising and exciting. So let's hope for warm weather and the snow to melt soon so we can get it.
I guess one question I was going to ask you while we're talking about this, and I am playing in my brain with when I would buy new irons and things like that, as somebody who's fitted people for clubs, how often would you recommend, or how often did you tell people to make a switch on irons to? Yeah,
that's a good question, because it's you applaud the equipment manufacturers for their marketing. Every year, like you said, you bought the Maverick, and then you're like, well, shoot, this like Epic 2.0 just came out, and that's 5 yards further than the Maverick. So realistically, everyone should be hitting at 400 yards, because every year it's longer than the year before. So hats off to their marketing team. People feel like they need to buy the next one every single year. What I would always tell people with like the woods, the hybrids, that type of thing, the turnover is a little bit higher, just because they can kind of tinker with weights, where they, the material they use, that type of thing. So they can kind of make pretty big, significant jumps. I would say if your driver is like 5 to 7 years old, or fairway wood or anything like that, you could see benefits of switching. When it gets to irons, you're looking at more so like 10 to 12-year-old irons are still gameable. The biggest thing, and I always would tell members this and people that I would fit this, irons are meant to go a number. So drivers and stuff like that, they're meant to go as far as possible. They're going to go as far as you can hit them. That's why they cost so much for one single club. Irons, you need, it's great if you hit your 7-iron 175 yards or 180 yards, but if you don't know when it's going to go 175 yards, that doesn't help you at all.
Right.
So I would always tell people that would come for fittings, like, let's hit some with your current irons, kind of see your dispersion, see where your carry is. I don't want to put them in because they're expensive. It's an investment. So I don't want to sit there and push anybody towards buying a new set of clubs if they're not seeing the actual benefit, and gaining yardage isn't necessarily the one benefit that you should buy irons with, because of the dispersion other things I talked about. And again, back to the club manufacturers, if you took your X18s and you put them up, if you took your 7-iron and put it up against the Callaway's most recent iron that's similar in a game improvement sense, I bet the loft of your 7-iron is at least 2 to 3 degrees weaker, meaning it has more loft on it than that 7-iron. So when you hit said new Callaway 7-iron, it's going to go further because it's actually the makeup of your 6-iron. And so when you go to your local sporting goods store and you get fit by that person and they go, wow, that 7-iron is going 10 yards further, you should buy these clubs. You have to be careful. And that's kind of always been my thing, is you buy new clubs if one, you can afford them, 2, you think you need them. And then if you think you need them, it's my job as the fitter to get you in a makeup that's going to, make you, let you improve in the game of golf. If you are consistently hitting the ball further, then that's why you're wanting the new clubs. Great. And then you're going to have that time where you're learning your new yardages. That's new. That's fine. But don't do it just based on, I want to hit the ball further. Because that, again, with irons, you're hitting an iron to go a specific yardage, not the furthest yardage it can possibly go. So,
and that was
my long-winded way to say irons 10, 12 years.
No, so. I'm outside that window, but it's like, to your point, I don't hit the ball a long way, but I hit it far enough to where upgrading irons, I don't know what it's going to do for me, other than maybe add a few yards, maybe have some better feel to it. But I'm playing cavity backs. I'm playing game improvement iron. So it's, I don't know. It's at some point I'm going to upgrade, but it's not an emergency. I need new clubs right now. Now I know people, my dad, maybe one of them, where he upgrades equipment every year because he loves to tinker with it. And like I said, he's, it's not him, it's the equipment. So I know people that are both ways, but if you have the means to do it and that you enjoy it, I mean, that's
right. It's just like any other hobby. I mean, you got guys that you have people that, run a ton and they go, I need a new pair of shoes because that's my speed shoe or whatever. Right. I mean, every hobby you can go down just an absolute rabbit hole on. So golf's no different. You could go that. I mean, but to your point, you're like, if I upgrade my irons, I might, hit it a little further. So then again, it goes to, okay, I might hit an 8-iron into a green instead of my 7-iron. But then again, you look at the lofts, is the 8-iron you're hitting in your 7, so it could, that in itself could be a podcast of going down the market. Always behind that.
I have a buddy who my dad plays a lot of golf with his dad. We grew up together and whatnot. We would always joke that if anybody ever needed a set of clubs, they would go to his basement Golf Galaxy, because his dad upgrades seemingly every year and just has more sets of clubs in the basement than anybody could ever know what to do with. So. Well, that was the issue as a golf pro. They always asked for him back, so I couldn't really do too much with him. They were like, "Oh, okay, you're not with us anymore. We need those irons back, or we need that." Well, it was a good run.
Yeah, had a run, had fun with it. So
good stuff. Good stuff. Well, yeah, I mean that's pretty much everything I have in the bag. I guess one other thing I don't randomly are you a rangefinder guy? Are you a GPS watch guy? Are you what do you use as for yardages on the course?
yeah, it's funny. I've always kind of been a rangefinder guy. I want to know specific yard. It's not like I'm good enough where I need to know that pin's 143, not 145. So I've always kind of been a rangefinder guy, laser guy. But my wife got me, again, she's just absolutely spoiling me with gifts. She got me the Bushnell, no sponsored plug here because we're not sponsored by anybody. Bushnell, the Wingman, which you have as well, is the speaker and GPS, and that thing is fantastic. I mean, so I'll use that kind of just like the casual round, hit the button, it'll give me the front, middle, back. That's all I really need to know. If I'm really like in a bind or like, oh man, I really want to make a birdie here, then I'll bust out the laser. But for the most part anymore, I've kind of taken a back seat to precise yardages. I'm like, you know what? I don't need to know that. I'll just do front, middle, back and be done with it. But what about you?
I'm with you. Yeah. You mentioned it. My wife also got me the Bushnell for my birthday there. So the, again, I have a rangefinder. I'm not good enough to hit to exact yardages. So something that tells me, and I've really kind of figured this out last year when I got that. The Bushnell is aim for the middle of the green. Again, I'm not good enough to hit to certain yardages, whether, like you said, 143 versus 145. If I know that, it's 145 yards in the middle of the green and that pin looks like it's up front, I'm going to hit something to the middle of the green and play it safe and probably 3-putt from there. So no, but that thing is perfect. It obviously plays music, it gives you yardages. But my question is that going to attach to our new push carts that both of us are in the midst of getting? So
I think it probably will. We'll have to, even if it doesn't attach, we'll just at least somehow Jimmy rig it to anchor on one portion of it or something.
I guess so. So anybody that doesn't have one, it has this gosh, what do they call it? The bite. I have it sitting right here. The bite technology, the magnet that you stick it to your golf cart with. So hopefully that attaches to our new push carts. I guess we got to get a shout out No Laying Up. We got to get some push cart mafia t-shirts now this year since we're both going push cart on Thursday nights. So
yeah. I say my Wingman is currently magnetically anchored to our kitchen refrigerator, which I'm sure my wife Lauren is thrilled with every time she looks at that and sees a huge Bluetooth speaker just mounted on the side of it. So,
well, in case you need to play some tunes in the kitchen or get the yardage to number one at Darby Creek.
You never know. Exactly. You never know when you need those yardages or the music. So it works out well.
Never know. Perfect. Well, I think we pretty much nailed the ball of the park there with what's in the bag. So anything else you got stuffed away in that bag that you're
not that I'm aware of. I mean, we'll find out. Yeah, there's tees, ball markers. Yeah, that's about all the that's about it. That's all I got. So no other surprises.
There you go. Well, I think that'll wrap up episode 2 here. Give us a shout on Instagram, Rob. What are you? Club Twirl Ohio on
Club Twirl Ohio on Instagram. Yep, absolutely.
Perfect. And I'm Punch Out Golf on Instagram. But be sure to give us a like, subscribe, give us a listen, leave us comments, reviews. We'll interact. We're trying to grow this thing, and we're obviously 2 episodes in, but we're having fun.
Real thing now. It's 2 episodes. 1 is just you dip the toe in the water. 2 episodes is you're serious. So I guess we're.
I guess we got to do a third.
Podcasters. Yeah, I guess we're serious podcasters.
Yeah, big J podcasters or whatever they call it. So
yeah. Exactly.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Rob. It's I can't wait to see what happens next week with the golf going on TV right now. So
another week of golf, and I'm sure we'll have some topics to discuss. So
all right. About that time, yeah. We'll talk to you next week.
All righty. We'll see you, Marcus.
Yep.